Hello, my name is Valerie Bookvald, and I'm the Marketing Intern here at Asolo Repertory Theater. I recently had the opportunity to sit down with Chazzan Abramson, and he is the cantor at Temple Sinai here in Sarasota, Florida. He is, in a nutshell, our Hebrew expert on our production of Yentl. He has helped with the authenticity of many of the Jewish and Hebrew details of the show. So take a look at what he had to say.
Hi, I'm Cantor Cliff Abramson, the cantor at Temple Sinai here in Sarasota, Florida. I spent an awful lot of time in the theater, in theaters just like this one. League of Resident Theater, A houses, B houses, C houses. Did a little off-Broadway, did a little Broadway, did a little bit of film. But at the same time, my voice seemed to be growing and growing and growing. And the piece of this that I don't mention often is that in the back of my mind, in my mind's ear, were these melodies I grew up listening to from the time I was yay high. And those were the Jewish melodies that were coming out of my grandmother's radio, listening to station WEVD. And so while I was doing Shakespeare, while I was doing Comedy of Errors or the musical comedy and played Mr. Snow more times than I would like to admit, still I kept hearing Ahava Rabbah mode, which is a very Jewish sound. And a lot of the great singers would enter into my mind's ear, if you will, and ultimately that led me back to where I started, singing Jewish music. So I went back to school, I went to Hebrew Union College, and I got my ordination as a full-fledged, honest-to-goodness clergy person. So I marry people, I unfortunately bury people, I bar mitzvah kids, and I lead services with the rabbi at Temple Sinai here in Sarasota as well. When I was working in the theater, I had the opportunity to work with Zelda Fitzhandler of the Arena Stage, who was the artistic director in Washington, D.C. And she would always say to us, because she was also the head of the theater program, the graduate theater program at NYU, and she would say, God is in the details. So I was curious to see how much attention was being paid to detail in this production. And just by the virtue of the fact that you guys brought me in, told me a lot. But so much attention is being paid to the most minute detail in terms of how one prayer is done. Is it done in antiphonal fashion? Is it done with a chant? Really, really excited me. The transliteration in the script itself is a transliterated form of Ashkenazic Hebrew. And Ashkenazic Hebrew is that Hebrew that was spoken in Eastern Europe at the time the play may have been written. What we did is we decided instead to use a different accent, a Sephardic accent, simply because that is what most of the people here in the States would be more accustomed to. That's what their ears are used to hearing. And also, that was a decision made, at least in many congregations in the Reform movement and some in the Conservative movement, to try and have the Hebrew spoken in the United States the way it's spoken in Israel. Ashkenaz literally means German, and let's say a Germanicized version of the Hebrew, which is sort of where we get the Yiddish from. Yiddish is medieval Hebrew, medieval German that has been Hebraicized. The Sephardic is much more, it's much more attuned to American ears, or at least most American ears. When I see that juxtaposed with the modern music that's being done, I'm just fascinated. I can't wait to see the whole thing.